Again. First of all, welcome everybody. I'm Jim Heisey, and this is the first of our Friday Business and Arts seminars. These seminars are designed to be a platform for attendees to exchange information and take advantage of the strengths and the differences between these vital forms of endeavor. Our format will be a discussion led by an individual or a panel, followed by time to talk together and share each other's knowledge and ask questions. We're recording these events so you can watch them later. So today we welcome Andrew Voigt, Vice President of M&T Bank, and we hope you enjoy this seminar. Andrew, why don't we begin with you?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to speak with all of you today. I think it's equally important to cover a lot of the information that you may have seen out there, really get a sense of what's going on with the disaster relief programs that are available to businesses. And I think just addressing maybe a lot of the misconceptions that are out there. So you've heard a lot about the stimulus package that recently passed. And part of that is having a portion of that package being released to small businesses under lending programs, under relief programs available to business owners. But what does that actually look like? What is true? What is not? So M&T and the special people that work for them have taken the time to put together a small slide deck going through the major programs that are out there. But I'll also give you guys some resources to go for and to look for if you guys want more information or have any other additional questions. So the major things are the CARES Act fiscal stimulus package. So it was being approved through legislation. Now it's official. And as of today, Friday, April 3rd, these CARES Act disaster relief loans are being released to business owners, and financial institutions are starting to take those. So really addressing who can make these loans. This program through the CARES Act is called the Paycheck Protection Program. So the name of the game is keeping people employed, keeping businesses running, to keep everyone in the economy while this coronavirus is impacting all of us. So who can make these loans? How is this being dispersed to business owners? So lenders with delegated authority from the SBA, which allows lenders to determine eligibility and credit worthiness without going through SBA channels. So for example, M&T Bank is an SBA lender with delegated authority. You may have heard SBA 7A lenders. That is also a term that's being used to determine eligibility of lenders. So most of the big banks, the Chases, the Wells Fargos of the world, those are all 7A lenders, but most of the banks as well, the smaller local community banks that work with the SBA are able to facilitate these loans as well. So what determines eligibility of borrowers? So a lender must consider whether they were in operation or had employees for whom the borrower paid salaries or paid independent contractors, as reported on a Form 1099. So this is going on from February 15th, so retroactively to February through June 30th. So there's going to be about 2.5 more months that clients can take advantage of this program. So what is determining a small business? So anyone that's under 500 employees. It may also differ based off location. So how much of a loan can you get through this program? So what they typically are doing is taking your average total monthly payments of payroll costs incurred during the 1-year period and multiplying it by 2.5. You may be asking, if I'm an independent contractor, if I'm a small business, am I a sole proprietorship? Average monthly payroll would be what you pay yourself multiplied by 2.5. And that's going to be average total monthly payment. And you'll take that by 2.5. So that is going to be one facility in which business owners can take advantage of these relief efforts. So what is considered payroll costs? So anything that's a salary, cash tips, commissions, things like that as well. And just as well, if you guys have any questions, let me know. We can take that. So I got a question from Charlie. So Charlie asked, all of the small restaurants paying waiters in cash cannot apply, correct? So payments of cash tips or equivalents will be considered under that. So a restaurant can apply as well. People may be asking what sort of documents are people taking as part of this. So they are taking the IRS Form 940s, 941s, 944s, which are both quarterly and annual reports. They're also taking payroll efforts as payroll reports that were put together by payroll companies. That's going to be a part of that as well that banks are going to be looking for.
Andrew, a lot of
Yes.
these small companies, small little restaurants, they really don't file anything like 1099s or those forms that you're talking about. So they just pay them cash. So how would they apply? Is that possible?
Yeah, so working with their accountant to provide payroll reports, we've been hearing out in the field that they may be requiring some accountants to attest certain financial documents. That's not completely confirmed at this point, but there's been rumblings of that happening. My personal opinion, there's going to be some risk that comes with that. You may have accountants that may not want to attest certain financial statements, but we are requiring business owners to create payroll reports separate from those IRS forms. So we will see if those payroll reports are sufficient for that. Not everything, of course, if you're paying an employee in cash, quote unquote, under the table, they may not be able to certify something like that. So that may not be, covered as part of this relief, but anything that they give in the form of a paycheck would be sufficient as well. Hopefully that answers your question.
How about people like who have a small business who don't pay themselves, haven't taken anything out of the business but put a lot in over the years? How would you handle that?
So and I'll talk a little bit about what is considered payroll costs, but also cover a couple other different lending programs. So if you are paying yourself as part of the business, that would be considered a payroll expense. But if you are keeping your money in the business, you're unable to certify that it is payroll. That probably wouldn't be something that would be covered under this Triple P program. I did get a question from Omar. So not every bank will be participating in this program. I would recommend reaching out to your local bank, asking if you are a preferred SBA lender, and seeing if they will be able to process that application. So it is deemed by the SBA as giving lending authority. A lot of the major banks are participating in this, but correct in the sense that not every bank is participating in this program. Okay, so what can this loan be used for? So the eligible recipients can use the proceeds for payroll costs, utilities, rent, any sort of interest on existing debts. So if you're a self-employed borrower, self-employed individual, sole proprietorship, individual contractor, something that would be covered as part of you taking in income, that would be covered as well. So I know I had received a question earlier about, can I pay my mortgage with this? Can I pay my bills with this? That would be covered under something like this. So as part of this, businesses are going to be required just to provide a good faith certification that essentially states that you were in business during the February 15th period. As part of the SBA loan application that's coming with this good faith certification will be built in. So there isn't anything separate to our knowledge that you'll have to bring forward. Some of the interesting features about this, so there's no recourse, there's no personal guarantee, and there's no fees that clients will have to pay for this relief program. Currently, it's not in this slide deck, but the interest rate on these are 1%, and it's a 2-year payment. One of the cool features of this as well is that you can defer payments for 6 months, and there will be a portion of this loan that is forgiven. So I'll cover that a little bit more. So any entities that are eligible to receive this loan is eligible for forgiveness for any costs or payments made during the 8-week period beginning on the date of when you first got that loan. So for payroll costs, of course, so any payment of interest on mortgage, anything for rents, anything for utilities. So we have been hearing some provisions that 75% of that is going towards payroll. That's being confirmed, so it hasn't been confirmed yet, but we'll be getting more clarification on something like that as it goes forward. but there is a portion of this program that has loan forgiveness wrapped in. So that'll provide a lot of relief to small businesses.
Andrew, the
Yes.
1%, is that M&T's fee? Do individual banks have their own rates, or is that part of the federal program?
Great question, Charlie. So that's currently a federal program. So the M&T, all of the other banks are currently, it's a current 1% interest rate. As I mentioned, you will have the loan forgiveness aspect, deferral of payments. But when you do start making payments, that will be at a 1% interest rate.
Andrew?
Yeah.
Question, I may have missed this. I've been toggling between a couple kids here with schoolwork as well. But would this, I'm assuming this would not apply to myself because as an independent contractor, I'm not paying anyone other than myself. But could this be a possibility or no?
It is a possibility. So you could use it to pay your mortgage, your rent,
Okay.
any utilities that would come with it. So we are advocating that our individual contractors go forward with this application.
And who would this would go through you, or would this go through who does this go through anyway?
Yeah,
I'm a little confused.
great question. So we're recommending, both at M&T and other banks as well. Every bank is interpreting these provisions and these guidelines by the SBA a little bit differently. So
Okay.
every bank will have a process that's slightly different. So
Okay.
we're recommending at M&T that if you are an M&T customer, you can apply through M&T. But if you have a business banking relationship at any other bank, you work with them to apply. We're seeing
Okay.
a lot of individual banks are taking online applications. We're also seeing some banks that are doing paper applications, going through branches, but the majority are doing online applications.
Okay. Good to know. Thank you.
Great question, though. So another program that I'm going to focus on is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, the EIDL. This is run through the SBA directly. So what businesses are eligible to apply? So this is going to be for small businesses that are affected by this coronavirus. So this is going to include businesses that are directly affected by the disaster and businesses that offer services related. So anything that would be indirectly related to anyone that would be lost as a part of this. So what is the criteria? So this is like a typical SBA loan. So they're going to be looking at credit history, the ability to repay the loan, the eligibility. So as of now, all 50 states are grouped into this program. So if you're in Michigan or you're in Texas, you're able to go through this EIDL process as well. So how much can I borrow? So business owners can get up to $2 million. The interest rates for this are 3.75 for small businesses, 2.75 for nonprofits, and term lengths up to 30 years. It's going to be based off the size of your business. So they are going to have some underwriting provision as part of this, some underwriting process. But what is going to be the use of these loan proceeds as well? So this is going to be for any fixed debts, any payroll, any accounts payable. So anything that would have been paid as part of this program would be covered as part of this loan. Something to keep in mind, anything over $25,000 is going to require some sort of collateral. So anything $25,000 or under can be unsecured. But typically real estate is going to be the collateral that's required for $25,000 or above. So again, what are some businesses that aren't eligible? So anything that's a religious organization, anything that does gambling concerns, so casinos wouldn't be a part of this. Real estate developers are not a part of this as well. Charitable organizations aren't a part of this as well. Okay, something to keep in mind as well. So there's no cost to apply. There's no obligation to take the loan if you get an offer. This is something that you would go through the SBA to apply. I'm going to pull up the link right now, and I'll share this as well. Let's see if we can stop the share, and we'll go through. We can. Okay, so you guys see the disaster assistance. So businesses can go through here. They've done a lot of work with streamlining the process. So you can apply right here for the program. They've done a lot of work to streamline the process. So in terms of the documentation, in terms of the process, it's going to be really easy to get this done. Let's go back to the slide. Okay, one question that I've gotten, can I apply for both of these programs? The answer is yes. So based off the turnaround time that we're hearing, it's typically anywhere from 3 weeks to 4 weeks, but we're also hearing as long as 2 months to get an answer back from the SBA. So for those small businesses that would be eligible for both of these programs, we've been recommending to take advantage of both programs. So maybe doing the EIDL for a larger amount, but then the PPP loan for your payroll expenses for those expenses. So you can do it online as well, but you can also submit a paper app and send it to this address in Texas right here. One thing as well that I'll mention, a major theme of this presentation, but a lot of other things has been, where can I go for this information? Who do I talk to? I'm really lost. Who do I reach out to? So we have a lot of resources that can really help out with that. So your small business development centers are going to be very key. Your SCORE mentors are going to be extremely helpful in helping out with something like this. Your women's business development centers are very helpful with that. So there's going to be a lot of resources that can help give you the information, take you through the applications, and give you the information that's necessary throughout this. One question as well is local chambers of commerce, what is their stake in this game? The local chambers of commerce are really helpful in providing education and information. They're very responsive and helpful and can provide a lot of clarification, a lot of guidance with something like this. I'm going to pull up a screen share of, let's see if we can get a hold of it. So this is an email we received from the Greater Norwalk Chamber of Commerce. They have a lot of information here that can give you a lot of specific points on the EIDL, the PPP loans, and can give you a lot of information to help. And that's the end of the slide deck. Of course, I'd be happy to answer any questions. One question I've gotten as well is, who do I reach out to again? But also, what is true, what is out there? What I will say is there is a lot of information and a lot of misconceptions that are pretty widespread throughout the industry, especially with regards to the timing of everything. Bankers and small business development experts, especially from the SBDC, the Women's Business Development Center, they're getting information by the hour, by the day from the SBA, and they are providing their interpretations to the best of their ability. I would recommend finding that person that can give you that information, that can give it to you effectively, efficiently, and clearly. So with that, I'll take any questions, be happy to step back and let conversation run. But thank you all for listening. Hope this was helpful.
Yes, Andrew, for sure. Thank you so much. A lot of change. I think the takeaway from me is that there really is a lot changing and going on all the time. So thank you for clarifying what's going on and how should one keep up with all these changes? I mean, the places that you've suggested are really helpful, but is there a person that they can talk to? Can we talk? I don't want to bombard you with thousands and thousands of people, but
that's quite okay. This is the stuff that bankers prepare for. So bankers are stepping up and really getting engaged and helping out their customers. So I'm more than happy to talk to anyone about any questions they have. A lot of the banks are offering almost like subscription services. So at least at M&T, we've created a resource page, which I can send out this seminar, but I could definitely, a lot of these banks are sending out subscription pages, resource pages, centralizing that information to get that info out to their customers and to interested parties. For any sort of Chamber of Commerce mailings, getting on their member list is really helpful as well. their local business development expert is going to be helpful as well. So anyone that's being touched in their community. So to name a couple names off the bat, so Christine Sullivan, the she's been influential in business owners in Connecticut. Fran Pastor, Joanne Gublin, Carol Cheswick are members of the Women's Business Development Center. They've been really helpful in getting that information out to clients as well. I think finding those subject matter experts in those organizations that can give you that information. But do not hesitate to reach out to your banker. If the branches are open, their local branch. For some of those larger banks, they're directing clients to their their external resource pages. But ideally, finding that person that can give you information is helpful as well. One thing I will mention as well is that as part of these programs, clients are going to be asked to provide a lot of information. So for example, for those payroll costs, getting your IRS 940 and 941s, accountants are going to be extremely busy right now. So it's important to get on their calendar, get on the phone with them to get the information as efficiently as possible. As part of this payment protection program, businesses are going to be asked to provide a couple pieces of information. So it's important to have that great working relationship with your accountant so that you can get that info as quickly as possible. So when it comes time to apply, you get it all in one piece and you get it all effectively.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
What about the individual stimulus checks? We keep hearing different timeframes and different requirements. Have you heard any updates on that process?
So nothing specifically that the banks have heard. We've been kind of getting same information everyone else has. I think taking everything with a grain of salt as well. A lot of the process has been rolling out the process, the how of how individuals are getting those checks. I think at least personally, I'll be waiting patiently because there is going to be a lot of kinks in the process to be worked out.
Yeah. So great. What are people's comments or questions that they might have about going beyond the loans? What have you found in your businesses that you are using to help you survive today?
Andrew,
Yeah.
you're going to send this to us? You're going to send us to...
Of course. Yeah, so that's a great question. And this is exactly why during times of calm and during times of low stress, we talk to people about having plans, having access to a fund, times of chaos. So at least now that we're in chaos, if they don't have any sort of emergency fund or access to capital, this is going to be the time to kind of leverage that. At least in the banking world, we're talking to a lot of our clients about different lending options that can be helpful. So a lot of our customers have taken advantage of home equity lines of credit. I know M&T at least is doing a unsecured loan of $2,000 to $5,000 at 2.99%. We also have unsecured loan options that have at higher dollar amounts, albeit at higher interest rates. But we're really leveraging the consumer lending aspect of the bank to help out individuals in this time of need. And I think it's talking about how to be nimble with your personal budget. So ideally, a lot of people aren't going out for drinks anymore because restaurants are closed. Maybe ordering takeout a little bit more to support our local businesses, which is totally something I would advocate for. But for those that are keeping their expenses trim, really limiting the amount of expenses that you're bringing into your financial house and trying to just be as particular as possible. I think that's a lot of what we can advise and advocate for on the personal side. But if they do have the ability to leverage different debt options, leverage different lending options, there's going to be a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, exactly. And there are some other resources that people can go to, your financial advisor, business coaches, all are going to have some ideas about how you can survive on these times. We've found that companies that find a balance between cutting costs to survive today and investing to grow tomorrow do well after times like these. And there are plans that you can make and things like that. So companies that deploy a specific combination of defenses and offensive moves will lead first out of the recession. So if you have a plan to produce that kind of thing, you're going to be, you're already ahead of the game. If you have, if you're starting now, it's not too late, but the first step now is really important to put some of these things in place.
Yeah, I'll ask a question to you, Jim. So how are business owners activating technology and leveraging a lot of the digital options during this trying time? Do you find that a lot of the business owners that you talk to, that you're helping, do you find that they're struggling to adapt to these technological changes? Or do you feel like having great game plans in place beforehand has been helpful?
Having plans in place is really important. And yes, people are learning to use Zoom. They're learning to work from home. All of this stuff is going on. And there is surprisingly, a lot of business activity going on. So hopefully this recession, quotes, is not going to be too long lasting, or that we're going to learn how to thrive in these times, and some will and some won't. Omar, you have stuff that you're doing. Would you like to comment about that?
Yeah. You know, as far as real estate selling, I think, you know, everything for now anyway has been sort of virtual and digital, and it's being able to have that company who can go that technological route and be able to create not just pretty pictures, but also putting that information in the right hands of people who are looking for properties. So making that important so that, you know, people can make it's kind of hard because people, what's going on out there, but to have people try to buy properties and homes online, which is really difficult to do, since a lot of people, before they spend that kind of money, actually want to see it, want to touch it, want to go in and get a feeling, is this home? But that's sort of the way it's sort of going, you know, and then having information about the home, you know, easily accessible, and then having the people who can know what kind of questions to ask during this time, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I can attest a lot of it has gone digital, virtual, and, you know, it's kind of like the sign of the times right now.
Yeah, for sure. Jim Ward, do you have any comments? We have two real estate experts here, so that would be something to hear about. And
Yep.
Charlie, what are you doing too?
Can you guys hear me?
Almost every carrier is really technologically advanced. I mean, every carrier has electronic enrollment process, underwriting process. There are a lot more video, Zoom presentations going on right now with the carriers, and even the local agencies are doing the same thing. So they're pretty on the ball.
Yeah. Jim Ward, do you have any comments that could help us?
Yeah, I mean, you know, strictly from a real estate perspective, you know, you do have, you're getting hit both ways, because your buyers are hesitant to go into homes and your sellers are hesitant to have people come in there. But again, you know, there still are those people who are looking to sell, and, you know, vacant homes, I don't have a problem showing people. And, you know, I think it's just a matter of, you know, social distancing, obviously, at least 6 feet, but you wear masks and gloves, and, you know, you would hope that people have the sense and or good faith to admit if they're suffering any symptoms. I mean, that's how I've been dealing with it now. I've had a few showings with people. We've just stayed back, and you know, it's been challenging to get into a few places, but again, you know, we can do virtual showings as well. And, you know, worst case scenario, if somebody really wants to see a house, I could have a listing agent go in there and videotape if they're amenable to it. But, you know, again, you really need to get inside to see, you know, to kick the tires, if you will. But, you know, we'll put this, you know, hopefully in another month and a half, you know, things will be semi-normal. Again, it's just about keeping people engaged. In whatever business you're in, keeping them engaged, because you'll have the step up for once we, you know, come out on the other side of this, that you've been in touch with them the whole time. I think that's the case with any business.
Yeah, I think that's really important too, Jim, keeping people engaged. On the arts side, I know that the theater that I'm involved with, I'm actually involved with two, but the Curtain Call Theater in Stamford is sending out daily reviews and bits and pieces from shows that they put on, and keeping in front of everybody while it's going on. And besides, it is uplifting to see some of that stuff. The other thing that I think that all of us can do is be involved with our local communities. I'm thinking of restaurants particularly. Don't forget they can, a lot of them are doing takeout. Be involved with them. Be involved with your local businesses wherever you are, and we need to support each other.
Another nice thing to do is give some props to our emergency first, you know,
Absolutely.
nurses, doctors, and you know, we have a daughter who was a nurse in Danbury Hospital, and we sent their whole crew a bunch of Dunkin' Donuts coffee gift cards. They absolutely were thrilled about it.
That's awesome.
They really appreciate that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
one thing that I'll
$10 a person, you know.
Oh, absolutely, Charlie. Appreciate the sentiments. One thing I'll comment on, and I'm curious if it's just common in your industries, is we have to have our feelers up of any fraud that's out there. So during these times of crisis is when people can really pounce on people that are vulnerable. And especially in the banking world, you can see people take advantage of elderly customers. You can notice a lot of digital fraud or check fraud or identity theft as a part of this. So as I mentioned, there's a lot of misconceptions out there, but there's also a lot of ill-willed people out there that can take advantage. And so any sort of email scams or phone scams, you need to be really vigilant of and being really mindful of the information that's provided to you. I'm curious if that's affected any of your guys' industries.
Not so much from mine, but they happen all the time. Cybersecurity and fraud are really rampant, as you said, Andrew. A good resource if you have questions. I think the one thing you need to do is, if you have a question, don't click. And if you really want to know, you can contact your local IT department, or IT department or IT provider. We have a good one, Jorge Ragosa, at your computer. I can't think of it now, but anyway, thank you. Your computer support people. He's excellent, and you might think about that. But ask if you have a question. First of all, don't click, then ask, and if you still don't know, still don't click. But that's a good point, Andrew.
And I would say to that and you know, look with a critical eye first. Then, you know, be scrupulous about everything in these times, because you know as we were saying, now more than ever, people are trying to you know, pull scams, and or we're all not in the mindset to, you know, fully, where, you know, our minds are all on health rather than, you know, avoiding scams. So again, look at everything critically.
Yeah. So where are we? If we're out of questions, then I think we can move on with the rest of our day. I would want to ask though, if you think enjoyed this, has it been helpful? Should we do it again? What topics do you want? You don't have to answer all of those right now, but do give us some feedback so that we can make these a very valuable lunch hour every Friday. So any comments now though would be great. And Andrew, thank you so much for leading this today. It's been wonderful, and you always are a good resource and a knowledgeable resource.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Andrew.
Happy to provide information. No, this was a great discussion. The information I presented was helpful, and I would be happy to take any one-on-one questions, provide guidance for any individuals that may have questions. We'll go from there. Thank you all.
I think one topic that's on our minds, everyone in BNI, is how to generate referrals. You know, if there's any with tips or ideas or different methods or experiences, what works, what doesn't work. I mean, that would be a very helpful topic of discussion if everyone contributes.
Yeah, I think that's great. That might be a good, let's add that to the topic list, and maybe we can get somebody from BNI to help us with that too. But you're all experts in that. Well, we hope we are. So that's a good referrals and generating more business. Good topic.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody.